All right, we are back live with our final segment. It is our Friday Night Lights player comp. Chris, why don't you go ahead and explain a little bit what this is that we did?
Sure. So, show Friday Night Lights, 5 seasons. We took the main players throughout the series, and we are going to say who we think that if the show followed them through college and getting drafted, who we think they would have turned into. So the players we decided to go with were Jason Street. We're obviously assuming that he can walk. Smash Williams, Tim Riggins, Matt Saracen, Vince Howard, and Luke Cafferty. So that's what we're going to do.
All right.
I think we should start with Luke Cafferty because that was by far the hardest in my opinion.
I will point out that I don't know this show very well, so I went pretty off looks. You guys both know it. So I don't know if I got positions right. I probably didn't, but it's just off looks.
All right. They might change positions.
Yeah, they could change positions. I only have one guy who changed positions.
I don't think any were kickers, so all right.
All right. Luke Cafferty, I think, was by far the most difficult. So he was a white running back and safety. He was two-way player. So I tried to think of current players that were white and a defensive back, and there's literally like zero.
Harrison Smith.
Yeah, but he's not as good as Harrison Smith. He was a small.
None of them are as good as the players.
No, I was actually trying to project them in on talent level.
Oh, yeah, I don't know that. I'm going okay.
Yeah, so that's what
Eric Cafferty was so underrated. It makes no sense that he got no college offers, right? When he left the Dillon Panthers, it was like the biggest thing. He was like the best running back in the state, and then all of a sudden, he was like not that good, or like not that good in like Texas football's eyes. And it made no sense to me because he was a stud. It seemed like every game they showed, he was scoring touchdowns and making picks, and it was like, how is this guy not getting offers?
Yeah.
Biggest mistake of the show.
That's why for my guy, I picked someone who was a little underrated, a little undersized. He was a white guy. He didn't have a long career. I tried to pick all current players, but I had trouble with this. So I went with Danny Woodhead for Luke Cafferty, a small, shifty guy, a little under the radar, unsigned draft pick, had a great career. So that's who I went with.
All right.
Like it.
I went with, I would say, probably the more obvious pick, and that's Christian McCaffrey. And they play the same position, white running backs, yada, yada. But it kind of goes into what I was just saying was Christian McCaffrey was a stud.
Yeah.
And, if he didn't get college looks, Mike, and I got to tell you, when you watch this show, you're going to realize how the heck did he not get any college looks? Because every highlight, this dude is laying the thunder, forcing fumbles, making picks, scoring touchdowns. He's doing it all. And he's kind of like a quieter guy, like a Christian McCaffrey, but when it's time to turn it on, he turns it on. And my theory is if he got to the league, if he got the looks that he deserved, that's who he turns into.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's a plot hole to me. How is this guy not? How is he the best player on his team and not getting any looks? That's a plot.
He wasn't the best player on his team.
But that's arguable.
He sounds pretty.
He did play quarterback one game.
Yeah.
I just watched that episode.
Here's what this is the only one I cheated on in terms of it not being a current player because he technically retired. I said he looks like a classic linebacker. That's Luke Kuechly. That's what I said.
Okay.
So that was my. Again, I'm going basically just off Google search. So I thought he looked like a linebacker.
Yeah, it's not
but
bad.
The one position he didn't play apparently.
All right. So for Vince Howard, quarterback, quick playmaker, I went with Patrick Mahomes. Yep. Not really much to say. Best player on the team. Great passer, great runner, playmaker. So I went with. It was between him and Lamar Jackson. Decided to go with Mahomes because Vince Howard gets that state championship at the end. So I went with the person who has a ring.
Okay, that's fair. I went with Cam Newton.
Newton, that's a good one.
Maybe 2 years ago. I thought about Lamar Jackson, but I don't think Vince Howard's anywhere near a Lamar Jackson caliber runner. He's just like a solid runner. He's, very athletic, and he can get, like you said, he can get it done with his legs or with his arm. The other thing about him is like he mirrors Cam Newton's like span of going from like periods of cockiness to humbleness. Like there's periods where you see Cam Newton as like he's on ESPN like every day, the biggest story, and then like kind of like goes away for a little while, and then he like comes back, and that's kind of Vince Howard on the show.
Yeah,
he's like, making these giant plays, and then like coach gets him in line, and he kind of like chills out for a little, and then his dad comes back and he hypes him back up again. And it's kind of like a roller coaster, and that's how I feel with Cam. A little bit of a roller coaster with Cam.
Fair?
Yeah, it's a good one.
For my incredibly inaccurate pick, I said, quote, this guy looks good. I thought he's a receiver. I said he's Michael Thomas because I'm sticking with that. I like Michael Thomas. So playmaker.
You could have picked Hopkins or Julio.
I could have, but I'm dying on the Michael Thomas hill. So I said, this guy looks good. Let's go for it. He's a playmaker.
So Matt Saracen, he was the quarterback, led him to a state championship once Jason Street got hurt. Yeah. But then, because of J.D. McCoy, he was forced to convert to receiver. So I went with Julian Edelman, who was a former quarterback, undersized, scrappy player, just like Matt Saracen. So that's my pick.
Nice. I went with another quarterback who is a little bit of a nerd, and he was an unlikely person to lead his team to a championship, but he came in, he played way over his ability, and he got the chip, which is Nick Foles.
That's a great one.
There we are. I love that. That's perfect. My exact sentiment on this guy was, looks like if Mark Zuckerberg played football. It looks like Mark Zuckerberg played football. He's a kicker for sure, but he's a good one. He's Will Lutz.
The part of that, like, the show that makes no sense is that, like, this kid's like 5'9", like this white kid who like can't really throw the ball, and it's like, how is the best football team in Texas not have two kids at their school who can throw the ball?
That's why he's Will Lutz. He's good at being a kicker. I stand by mine. I think I won that round. All right.
Okay.
Fair.
So Tim Riggins, he's a hard-hitting fullback who loves the ladies, getting wasted, and getting hit. So this was my position change one. I had to go with Gronk.
Oh.
Just a party animal. Doesn't care about anything other than getting drunk, hitting people, and getting girls. So that was my pick.
Fair.
I like the pick. I was close to that. I also went position change. I also went position change to a tight end. The reason I didn't go with Gronk is I don't think Riggins is like the attention seeker of Gronk. Gronk's kind of like, he loves the attention, I went with Kittle.
Yeah, that's a better pick for the reason you said.
And Kittle does, like attention, but not as much as Gronk. He's not like that much of a showman. But, guy likes beer, likes to party.
Wrestling. He likes wrestling.
Yeah, he loves wrestling. I imagine Tim Riggins likes wrestling too.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. Big WWF fan. He probably doesn't like the WWE, but he probably loves WWF.
All right, mine for this. I Googled him. I said, he looks annoying. He's Cole Beasley.
Long hair?
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta base it up.
That wasn't a great one.
What's that?
That wasn't a great one. He's the anti-Cole Beasley.
Yeah.
So he's likable. All right, he's likable. Whatever.
Well, he's likable except for when he hooks up with his best friend's girlfriend after his best friend becomes paralyzed. But
he went to jail for his brother, though. So his brother could have. So his brother's son, his nephew, could have a dad.
Well, now I feel bad about calling him Cole Beasley.
So Smash Williams, I thought this was the most difficult. So I'm gonna say who I picked, and then I'm gonna say two others that I couldn't decide between.
That's three people, Chris.
I know. I just want to explain my thought process.
Better do it quickly. We got 6 minutes.
I will.
Not much time.
So after going back and forth, I picked LaShawn McCoy. Reason being, he's extremely cocky. He's a big personality. He had a lot of trouble off the field. So the ones that I was considering were Gurley and James Conner, just because they Gurley, even though he won the first round, he dropped a little bit because of an injury, and I mean, cancer is an injury, but Connor dropped because of his physical state. So that's why I was considering them. But at the end, I went with McCoy because of the off the field stuff and big personality and cockiness.
I like the McCoy pick. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Also went with an Eagles running back, a more current one. I went with Miles Sanders.
Yep.
I think he fits, like, his running style looks like a lot the same. They're not like big backs, but they can run the football between the tackles. They'd rather get outside. They're pass catching backs. They have like similar builds kind of. If Miles Sanders was in high school, I'd picture him as, looking like that essentially. They got the buzz cut hair. And the only thing that separated them a little bit that was hard was Miles Sanders is not as like vocal, I don't think, but if you follow him on Instagram, he is kind of flashy.
Yeah.
You see, I retweeted today. That was funny.
That was hilarious.
I didn't see it. I'll have to take a look, but I didn't I thought he was more like a quiet person, but he's really not. He doesn't really show it on the field that much. Maybe it was just his rookie year, but yeah, that was my comp, Miles Sanders.
Good one too.
I said I think he's a running back, which I got correct, but he also looks like a D-back, so I'm going to call him Casey Hayward.
Okay.
Who knows? Could you see him playing corner? Who knows?
That's why
I'm the wild card. That's why you have me. I'm the wild card.
All right. So for Jason Strait, I was thinking big prospect out of high school, throws the ball a lot. So I ended up going with Matt Stafford because he was a highly touted high school prospect, number one overall pick, and I imagine that's what Jason Strait would have been if he didn't get paralyzed. So I had it between Stafford and Matt Ryan. The reason I went with Stafford was because I actually looked up their high school stats and prospect stats, and Stafford was a 5-star recruit. Ryan was like a 3. So that's why I ultimately went with Matt Stafford.
All right. I actually did go with Matt Ryan. I like this. I like the Stafford pick. I kind of went off appearance a little bit. I think like Street and Matt Ryan they look very similar.
Yeah.
They're like I think Matt Ryan's a little taller than Matt Stafford, right?
Yeah.
Probably 2 or 3 inches taller than him. And Street's a tall guy. He's got kind of that like comb over look. General good guy that most people like. Matt Ryan, well respected around the league, but also a guy that puts up a lot of gaudy numbers, but just never got the job done.
Yeah. That's another reason I picked Stafford. Same reason. Puts up crazy numbers.
Now I feel bad. I nailed the position, but I feel like I was being smart with it. I said he's Kirk Cousins. I have no idea why.
Yeah, that's not bad either.
Yeah, it'd be Kirk Cousins.
There it is. All right. Look at that. Fantastic. Do we want to end with our betting corner?
Sure, we can throw it in there real quick.
Throw it in there real quick.
You have anything you like?
It's so funny. I'm like looking, and I mean, there's not really sports yet. I mean, next week when hockey comes around, I'll have plenty of bets. I don't know, Chris. What are you thinking?
So I loved Bet Boost I saw on Fox Bet. I put 60 on it. So if you pick a team for opening day, you pick their money line, your favorite team, you got to pick one. So I put 60 on the Phillies money line, and then you get $5 for each run they score if they win.
I've seen that deal with $25 before on FanDuel. I've done that before.
$25 for each run?
No. You only have 25 is the minimum. I've done that plenty of times.
You can bet whatever. Yeah.
They have it all the time. Oh, is there a minimum or you got to do 60?
There's a minimum. It's like 5, I think.
Oh, okay.
I just did 60 because I think they spanked the Marlins. Alcantara is pitching, and he throws straight fastballs.
There you are. I like it.
So
I like that. That's great. All right, so we got look for the Phillies on opening day. That'll be Friday against the Marlins. Pat, any bets for you?
Like you said, there's not a ton of sports going on right now. I think the one I've been dialed into most is the PGA Tour because it's been going on for the last month or so. And this week's a little bit weird with the tour because the top 3 favorites are Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, and Tony Finau. Johnson and Koepka both shot 80s last week, which you don't know, that's not very good for PGA Tour, right? You're looking at something in the high 60s, right, for winning tournaments. And those are the two favorites. And then you got Tony Finau, who's been playing really well, but he can never finish a tournament. Guy can't seem to win. And all that to say, it's a great week to just take a flyer on an underdog, because the top three guys are two guys who haven't played well recently, and a guy who just can't seem to win. So it's a good week to go down and pick somebody low on the leaderboard and get some really good odds, like a Max Homa or somebody like that, who usually you wouldn't think of putting money on. But this is the week to go take some chances on the PGA Tour.
There we are. Excellent. We're running out of time. I don't want to rush it, but guys, this has been great. Let's do it again next week.
Sounds good.
What do you think? All right. Thank you, everyone. We love you.
Later. Bye.
Bye.